Hello, hello, hello. How you doing today? My name's SpectrumDominus, and welcome to the Backlash 2016 Smackdown Live Prediction Show. This is the first pay-per-view of the new era. Now, you could argue that the new era started right after WrestleMania, or that it started at the draft. Those are the two strong opinions. We started discussing it after WrestleMania. It became a term after WrestleMania. But then the draft is supposed to signify when the new era took over. And yes, we've had a pay-per-view since the draft, and that being SummerSlam. But aside from a few matches, for the most part, SummerSlam had no impact in the brand split. You had Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, and you had Finn Balor fighting Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. Aside from that, every match was it didn't matter that it was brand specific. No one really paid attention to the brand specificness of that match. So this pay per view is, in my opinion, the first new era pay per view. It is SmackDown exclusive. There is only SmackDown championships being decided. There is only SmackDown wrestlers on it. So this going forward, we'll see how this brand split plays out. Up to this point, it was a slow pull, and now we are officially, in my eyes, split. So, as with all my prediction shows, I'm going to use the Wikipedia list on the matches. They only have 6 matches listed. I expect there to be more, but looking at the roster, there's not much more they can do. And what I mean by that is, they already have one tag team fighting 2 matches, which we'll get into in a moment, and then they have everyone else on the card. The few names of people that aren't listed, and I have to expect that there's going to be at least one more match added in the form of a pre-show match from this list, and perhaps one match added to the show and one to the pre-show. But you have Kane, Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, The Ascension, the Vaudevillains, Eric Rowan, and Fandango. One could say Tyler Breeze, but he's apparently off right now, and that's why Fandango was by himself this past week. From that, I expect the pre-show match, if I was making it up and saying there was one match added and it's a pre-show match, I'm expecting Kane versus Fandango based on what happened on SmackDown this week. If that happens, Kane wins in a fairly quick squash match. Not squash match, not Braun Strowman type squash match, but it'll be very, very little offense from Fandango. Kane gets it. That being said, we could also see something along the lines of putting that on the show and letting Apollo Crews beat Eric Rowan or something like that, just to get match numbers up, because 6 is a very small match count for a pay-per-view. But aside from that, we're just going to go with the 6 that they told us. My prediction is there will be more than these 6. So the first match we want to talk about is the Usos versus the Hype Bros. This is a reactionary match. The Usos are not in the tournament anymore. The Hype Bros won their match. The Usos lost their match to the American Alpha. American Alpha then got jumped by the Usos and beat up. So now, instead... Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Hype Bros lost their match, and so did the Usos. And so what they did was, it was supposed to be Slater and Rhino versus American Alpha. So what they did was they took the 2 losers, since American Alpha got beat up and injured, and they're making them face each other to go on and face Rhino and Heath Slater for the championship later in the night. So I expect this to be the first match of the night, so that they get a chance to rest up for their later match. This is easy. This is the Usos, 100%. They went through the trouble of turning the Usos heel. They're going to have a little bit of a push based on that, perhaps a push enough to give them the titles. We'll discuss that in a little bit. But a easy win over the Hype Bros here sets up the Usos for the match against Rhino and Heath Slater later on in the night. The next match I have listed is The Miz with Maurice versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. This should go to Dolph Ziggler. Now, I'm sorry, this should go to The Miz. I would not be surprised if it went to Dolph Ziggler. Here, there's many things they could do here. I don't think they're going to surprise us any. The thing I don't like about this is that Dolph Ziggler just came off of almost winning the world title. So to drop him one event later to the Intercontinental title and then have him lose really just kind of cuts out any steam they built for him. I'd like to see them give it to Dolph from that standpoint. That being said, Miz is doing a phenomenal job with the title. Just had that blow up on Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan. I think that they're going to build off of that. I think that he gets a win here. Even if it's not the cleanest win, I think he holds on to the title. I think it's the smart move. They could theoretically take it off of Miz, give it to Dolph Ziggler, and turn Ziggler into his transitional champion so that he could pass it on to Bray Wyatt or Baron Corbin or someone like that if they're ready to take it off the Miz and move it on to someone else. I just don't see a lot of names that need the Intercontinental title at this time, aside from Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin. That's it. Those two are the only two. So if you're not going to give it to Crews last month while fighting The Miz, or at least continue that battle on until he does get to win it in the next... They could have had him fight him again here, and then win it at Clash or Night of Champions or whatever that is down the road. Survivor Series even. They could have done that, but instead they quickly transitioned into a new opponent, which tells me that Miz is just going to hold on to it a little longer. I doubt they'll give it to Ziggler here. And probably shouldn't give it to Ziggler. As much as I'd like to see him win it, just because I want to see the free fall stop. He loses to Dean Ambrose at the pay-per-view, then comes out and loses to AJ Styles clean, and then he's going to lose to Miz, even if it's not clean. They built him up just for a free fall, and he goes into obscurity, and I don't want that. I love The Miz. I think he's a great wrestler, and I want to see him win. So, if anything, I want him to win to stop a free fall. But Miz deserves it more right now. Next match is Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. This, to me, seems pretty cut and dry. It should be Randy Orton. They definitely could throw us a curveball here in a couple different forms. If they wanted to drag this out for a couple events, they could find a way to have Bray Wyatt cheat. They could have Luke Harper return. He is apparently, I believe, cleared. So this would be one of the surprise returns that we could see, is Luke Harper could return here. Luke Harper could return in a way that screws over Bray Wyatt and set up a Luke Harper-Bray Wyatt feud. There's a couple ways this can go. I think the simplest is just give the win to Randy Orton. Loss to Randy Orton doesn't hurt Bray Wyatt that much because Bray Wyatt hasn't won a match in 2 years. So I don't see where a loss to Randy really hurts anything here. And you kind of want to build Randy back up after the Brock Lesnar beat. So I think this is a Randy Orton win. Fairly easy, fairly clean. Then we have the title matches. We have Heath Slater and Rhino versus what I predict will be the Usos. Now, a lot of people going into the the Tag Team Championship tournament said that the Heath Slater team was going to win it, and this is how he gets his job. I think that it makes more sense to have the Usos win it here. Heel tag team, first ever tag team. Usos, who, like them or not, are the most established tag team in the WWE right now with the Dudley Boys leaving. They're the ones that have been around the longest, the ones with the most title reigns, even more so than New Day. They've been around longer than New Day. So I feel like making them the first ever tag team champions makes more sense than to make it someone like Slater and Rhino. That being said, they did just give the Universal Championship to Finn Balor, which was a huge mistake for a first ever, and in my opinion. And so, who knows? Maybe they'll say that's what makes it obvious, so we go the other route. I feel like letting the Usos win here puts heel heat on them. They already have heel heat for beating up American Alpha. They already. Then they beat and they keep Heath Slater from getting his contract. We'll put more heel heat on him, and then it sets up an Alpha Uso match for the title going forward, which is smarter than just putting it on Alpha and then having them be the champions right off the bat. At least they get to win it from someone rather than winning in the tournament. I like this. I like it playing out that way better. That would make the Heath Slater trying to get a contract continue, which is a good storyline, and a lot of people like it. I don't know where they go with Rhino from there. Rhino is about to start campaigning. He's running for Congress, so he's probably going to be off after the tournament. I'm not sure exactly how that plays out. So it just makes more sense to give it to Usos here and set up an Alpha fight in the future. Now, the other option is theoretically American Alpha show up, distract the Usos, and Slater wins it, gets his contract, becomes the first tag team champions, and then you set up an Alpha Uso battle outside of the championship, which means that you don't hand it over to the second best tag team to lose it to the first best tag team, and then you're at the top already and there's nowhere to go. At least if Slater and Rhino gets it, there's somewhere to go with the titles until they get more tag teams in and what have you. But I think that they don't think that complex. I think that they just give it to Usos because it's easy, safe, it's the way to go. Then we have the final two matches. These are the only two matches that I'm not going to say the only two matches I'm interested in, but these are the only two matches I have question marks about, that I feel that in previous ones, if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter that I'm wrong. In this one, the ladies 6-pack challenge, where it's essentially a 6-woman elimination match. So you have Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Bella. I think your two favorites would be Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch. I think that Becky Lynch, for the same reasons as giving it to the Usos, makes the most sense. Let her get the title because this is your first ever champion here. She is your first draft pick overall. She is the only one of the 4 horsewomen that are on this show. She is your future. I think that they separated her from the rest of them because she is considered the lower of the 4. And over here, she can still shine because the other 3 are on the other show. So I feel like giving it to her makes sense. That being said, again, if she gets the title, there's nowhere to go from there. So a surprise by giving it to Alexa Bliss or Carmella. You give it to Carmella, and then you let Nikki chase the title versus Carmella for a little bit. That makes a little more sense from building a division storyline. You want to build this division, you give it to Alexa Bliss or Carmella, even Natalya, I guess. You give it to one of the heels. Makes sense. However, if you're going to do that with the Usos, you may not want to do that both ways. So I feel like my prediction is Becky Lynch, but I would not be surprised if it was Carmella or Alexa Bliss that got the title to set up either Alexa Bliss Lynch for the title or Carmella Nikki for the title going forward. I could see either happening. But for my prediction, for my check mark, I'm check marking Becky Lynch here because I don't think they go heel with the tag titles, heel with the women's title, and then we have the world title, the WWE Championship. Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles. They've been booking both of these guys really strong. Dean Ambrose's reign has been rather boring to me. I found his reign to be boring. It was somewhat exciting, I guess, a little bit when he was fighting Shield members. But once the split happened and you got Ziggler and no one cared about, and I just didn't care about most of the Shield stuff either. Dean Ambrose is not a world champion, in my opinion. They need to get the belt off him and then let him beat The Miz for the Intercontinental title. Unfortunately, with the split going the way it did, he really is one of the stronger wrestlers on the show, stronger personalities, so he will be in that title picture for a while, if not forever on the show. But I think that's one of the things that glaringly shows you that SmackDown is a weaker show, is Dean Ambrose. because he's not worthy of a world title in my opinion, and he's the guy holding it. So because of that, they should give the title to AJ Styles here. Here's the thing. I don't see AJ losing. He beat John Cena clean in the last pay-per-view. Doesn't make sense to have him just lose clean to Dean Ambrose here. To have him lose unclean, you would have to have someone interfere. I don't see Ambrose turning heel. I mean, you have no baby faces on the show. So Ambrose is your guy. So he doesn't really turn heel here, which means that the only other unclean way to beat AJ would be John Cena showing up and distracting AJ. Now he can't like come and physically get involved because that's heel. But for him to show up, music hits, AJ gets distracted, and Dean Ambrose wins because of it. That could happen if you wanted to extend the AJ John Cena fight. But then it's just like, how do you book AJ so strong and then give him a loss to Dean Ambrose? I feel like unless you're going to drag this fight out and have him win it at whatever the next SmackDown pay-per-view is, No Mercy, I feel like just give it to AJ here and then have the rematch be at No Mercy. So I'd like to see an AJ championship reign here. If that changes hands, I will think it is, at least from a writing standpoint, a proper pay-per-view. It does look weak, and we did say that there's a chance that the split was going to make things weak, and I was the biggest proponent saying I would rather weak pay-per-views. I would rather pay-per-views where I'm seeing the Usos and the Hype Bros and Heath Slater get matches, and then when the Raw pay-per-view comes around, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil get matches, rather than this pay-per-view being Ambrose Styles, the six-pack challenge, Orton versus Wyatt, and then the Raw guys, Seth Rollins versus... It's the same pay-per-view every time. So I'm okay that it's a weak pay-per-view. I just hope that they can learn in the alternating pay-per-view pattern to make us care about the Uso. I care about the Uso matches because of the American Alvarez injured. So the chances of people showing up that shouldn't be here, I think Luke Harper has a chance to show up in the Bray Wyatt match. I think John Cena has a chance to show up in the AJ Styles match. I think there's a small chance that American Alpha shows up in the Uso Rhino Heath Slater match. And then the other person that could theoretically show up at the pay-per-view is, I think, Kurt Hawkins. I don't know why he would. He does have a Hype Bros connection with Zack Ryder. That doesn't mean he has to show up to help Zack Ryder. I'm just saying that he is scheduled to make his first SmackDown appearance this coming Tuesday. So having him show up at the pay-per-view, knowing he'll be there on Tuesday, that could happen as well. So that's about all I have. Building forward to the next pay-per-view, we'll see how this plays out tomorrow night, or at this point, 3 more minutes and it'll be tonight. I do also want to say that the UFC CM Punk match just ended. I did not watch it. I got a lot of information over Skype from friends who did. I want to thank USC Punk and Darum for keeping me updated on that match. It was over in the first round, about 2 minutes, I think they said, 2 minutes and 14 seconds, something like that, which is exactly what I predicted. He would get his butt handed to him. He would do all the training he could. He would believe he'd be ready. He would try his hardest and bully on him for doing it and trying his best. But at his age, starting his first professional match, there was no way he was winning that match, and I knew that. We've talked about that for a year now. So, but that's all I have for you today. We'll be back with a prediction show in just a couple weeks for Clash of Champions, not Clash of the Champions, Clash of Champions. And if you like this video, make sure you click the like button, click subscribe to see more of my videos. And yeah, that's it. So we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.